Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My speech is so crazy, it actually would not run on their laptops. So we have my Razor up there, and we'll see if they can get it on the screens. Okay, we got, oh wait, what's this? This isn't right. This is totally wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, you can take that off. All right. Anyone from Seattle in the audience? Sorry. We're a little excited. Sorry, it was 38 years we waited for that, so we had fun on Sunday. As Martin said, this is a pretty personal talk for me. It's different than any talk I've given before. I interviewed my dad for it, so that was kind of scary for a kid. So it's about my dad, it's about growing up, it's about success and failure, and it's about making stuff. So let's get into it. So the thing about me is I grew up in a house filled with airplanes. My dad, he loved airplanes. He would go to work every day at Boeing and make airplanes, and then he would come home at night and he would make more airplanes. He would make those control line airplanes that you saw, or U-control airplanes. They were kind of the predecessors of remote control with wires that run from a stick out to the plane. And so, I grew up, seeing him making these things, and so that was the first question I asked him. I wanted to know about that. Why did he make these planes?
Well, I built a lot of U-control airplanes, and one of my old high school buddies just sent me an email saying how he remembered me at age 10 winning a trophy at U-control stunt flying. I used to ride my bicycle to the Cedar Park and playing field. Well, and then other things took precedence, so I didn't do anything with it until you guys, I decided to get back in. I built this airplane and several others.
That's my dad. Cute, huh? So he, in his life, he had this passion. He's still alive, I should say, but he has this passion for airplanes. And, but he understood that it takes more than passion. I mean, we see a lot of passion in this business. But he understood he also needed to have a skill if he was going to work in his passion. And so the skill that he pursued was electrical engineering. And he would take apart his dad's old tube radios and build stuff when he was a kid.
Well, I was interested in electronics from early days. I built various electronic gadgets when I was just a kid. And I was interested in ham radio, and I built a little ham radio station.
So we all did that as kids, right? We all built our own ham radio station. But I wanted to get deeper. I wanted to understand the root of this passion. I mean, why airplanes? Where did it come from? So I just kept asking him questions until I got to what I think is the core.
I don't know, it just interested me. I grew up during World War II era, right? And the whole idea of fighter planes and all that sort of stuff was just great for a kid.
It's exciting.
Exciting. Used to learn how to identify German airplanes from silhouettes, and used to pretend that I was looking for enemy attacking airplanes, sitting out in the backyard, things of that sort. I was born in 1936, so that makes me just about 8 or 9, 10 years old, something like that. My mother had a grape arbor, a rose arbor structure, and I remember sitting on top of that. That was my control tower back at that time.
So it's amazing how much of our passion comes from the experiences we have when we're young. I grew up in this house seeing him making stuff and making stuff myself. first with wood and nails and glue, and then with bolts and metal, and then learning to solder things together, making little electrical components, and then taking programmable calculators that he would bring home from Boeing and teaching myself to program first on those, and then on a little microcomputer he brought home, and then he got me an Atari 800. So early on, my skill was programming, but my passion was really video games. When I was a kid, like he was a kid in World War II, when I was a kid when the very first arcade games were coming out. So, we would get on our bikes and ride down to the bowling alley, and there'd be something new, it seemed like, every week, whether it was Space Invaders or Space Wars or Centipede or Asteroids or Missile Command. I mean, those were the games that defined my youth, and so then basically what I would do is I'd go home and I'd try to imitate them, pretty crudely at first, and then I got better and better at making games. And so by the time I was in high school, I was making games, and a company called Romox saw my work and asked if they could publish it. And so I was in the game business as a high school kid, and then going into college. Yeah, I used to be Eddie, too. Only Balmer gets to call me Eddie, yeah. He loves to do that. Anyway, yeah, so basically that's when Microsoft found me. I was 19 years old. I was in college getting a computer science degree. I had been making games on the side. And yeah, and Microsoft found me. And I was kind of struggled to find the right analogy, but I think my time at Microsoft was, it was kind of like the recent movie Ender's Game. This is where Ender's Game. There we go. We were recruited as children to fight in their wars, and I fought in some of the biggest. Excel versus Lotus 1-2-3. Word versus WordPerfect. And then after 10 years on the front lines, my commanding officer came in to see me, and he said something unexpected, something like this.
You don't like taking orders?
No, sir.
Perhaps you'd prefer to give them yourself.
Sir.
How'd you like to lead your own army?
You'd say yes, right? Absolutely. And I knew where I wanted to lead them to. I wanted to lead Microsoft into the game business. And that's what I did. And the next 8 years were really a magical time for me. A time when I toured all over the world with the strength of one of the world's most powerful companies behind me. I worked with some of the world's best game developers. It was the kind of time that, if this were a movie rather than a talk, they'd probably cover as a montage.
Hi, I forgot your name. Whatever. My point is, hi, your head's on fire. Oh damn, you must have got one of them combustible heads. I read an article all about them. You're on fire. You're on fire. I won't lie. You're on fire. Combustible head. Combustible head. Combustible head. Hey, how's it going? Is that your car they're towing? I'm pretty sure that's your car.
Really, everything that we've worked for over the last 4 years is starting to come true.
My point is, your head's on fire. Oh damn, you must have got one of them combustible heads. I read an article all about them. You're on fire. You're on fire. I won't lie. You're on fire. Combustible head. Combustible head. so low, the music is extremely loud. You're hard to get to know, but you're easy to spot in a crowd.
Xbox is just everywhere.
I'm sure you're aware you got one of those rare combustible heads. I read an article all about them. You're on fire. You're on fire. I won't lie. You're on fire. Oh damn. Oh damn. You still got one of them combustible heads. I read an article all about them. You're on fire. You're on fire. I won't lie. You're on fire.
Do you like that? But by the end of 2003, things had begun to change. The walls I had built between my group and the rest of the company had begun to break down. And after one particularly bad meeting, I had what I can only describe as a vision. I saw the future clear as a summer's day. I saw myself leaving Microsoft for the first time. And I saw worse than that. Had I, like Ender, set into motion forces that would destroy the thing I built, the thing I love? I tried to find a way out, tried to find a way to change the future, but it was hopeless. It was going to happen whether I was there or not. And so, I left.
He's abandoning his entire fleet.
I wish I could say that that vision was wrong. Too dramatic? But really, three things saved me. And the first was, I just started helping people. As projects started to get canceled, as people started to spin out of Microsoft, I just started having coffee with people and helping them, helping start new game companies, helping people get back on their feet, helping them find new jobs. And I find myself 10 years later, that's basically still what I do. That's my full-time job. I help people, sometimes as an advisor, sometimes as a board member. But a lot of times I'm just a friendly face to have coffee with, who can make some connections for you, give you some advice. I'll help you too. All you got to do is ask. The second thing for me was getting back to making stuff. Started a little company with some friends so I could get back to programming. There's no better way to make stuff than with 3D printing. So we teamed up with Blizzard and started making World of Warcraft characters, bringing them out of the game and into the real world. And now, 7 years later, we've done tens of thousands of these. And that's been a fun project and a fun way to make stuff. Some people in the audience know I make stuff another way, too. I kind of went back to my roots and started programming the really old game consoles, working on the Atari 2600. Writing a game in 4,000 bytes is, well, it's more like poetry than programming. But it's something that I enjoy, and I don't know, I've even gotten some recognition over it, which is nice. But the biggest thing for me over the last 10 years has been the chance to be around my kids as they grow up. And that's something I wouldn't trade for anything in the world.
I remember the good old days. Stayed up all night, getting crazy. Then the money was not so good.
My kids are growing up now. I can't believe it. Jasper's 9, and Xander, he's 11. And they like to make stuff too. They make stuff out of wood and nails and glue, and they solder stuff together. Xander's become a pretty good programmer, actually. He works in Scratch and Java, C, and Unity. But there's another way that they make things too, a way that we couldn't make things as a kid. They make things in games. Games like Roblox, Minecraft, and their new favorite, Kerbal Space Program. I was about their age, maybe 8 or 9. There's time for this one last story. Maybe 8 or 9 years old. And my dad had been working on a brand new control line airplane, been working on it for months. It was this beautiful white airplane. And finally the day came that it was done, and he asked me if I would go with him out to the park to test it. And I said, sure, and we jumped in the car, and we drove out to the park. And I held the tail as he started the motor. And I waited, as he had taught me, while he ran out to the middle of the ring. And then, at his signal, I let go. And the plane took off and went around and around. First, he kept it flat, made sure the controls were working. And then, once he was happy with it, he started doing more and more complicated loops and figure eights in the air. And then, after a little while, he leveled it back out, and he waved for me to come out and join him. I did like he had taught me. I waited for the plane to go by, and then I ran as fast as I could out to the middle before the plane came back around again. And when I got to the middle, I had to turn with him as we followed the plane around. And we sat there and spun together. And then he lowered the controls down into my hands. And together we were flying that plane. And it went a little bit up, and I nudged it down. And it went a little bit down, and we nudged it up. It went a little bit up, and we nudged it back down. And then he let go, and I was flying the plane all by myself. It pulled so hard, I had to lean back as I spun. And the plane went a little bit up, and I nudged it down. I went a little down. I nudged it up. It went a little up, and I nudged it just a little too hard down. And now it was going towards the ground, and I panicked, and I pulled back hard on the stick. But the plane didn't just go a little bit up. It turned straight up and flew straight up into the blue summer sky, higher than I'd ever flown before. Then it came over the top. It came screaming down the other side and buried itself in the ground, smashing into a million little white pieces that rained down on the field like confetti. So I asked my dad if he remembered flying with me. He said this.
I remember you crashing one.
Yeah, I bet. But then he said this.
I don't remember you being mad about it when I crashed it.
No, but, well, you get over that soon, because I think I crashed 10 airplanes, destroyed 10 airplanes before I really learned taught myself how to fly.
And that's how it goes. From grandfather to father to my own sons. The world goes round and round, like an airplane on a string. Thank you.